my magazine, but not from the daily guides. Why? Because sometimes it's good to take a break. The theme for this month's daily guides, it's very similar each day. And there's a lot of good stuff in there. There are good messages in there, good things for us to think about. But sometimes it's just good to take a change. At first, I was going to read from something called Murphy's Dogma, which I will later this month. I'll read from that, I promise you. So I started flipping through actual physical copy of the magazine. My wife reads the physical version, I read the digital version. I started flipping through for June, and then I looked in May, and then I came across an article I thought was really kind of cool. Why? Because the message was contained in a story. And as some of you know, I love stories because stories are great ways to get a message across without preaching. And I thought sometimes I think sometimes our daily guides get a little bit preachy. And as I've said before, sometimes they're directed primarily at people who are members of Centers for Spiritual Living. And not everybody who reads the magazine is. Not everybody who watches this, listens to this is. And as you know, I sometimes struggle to strike a balance. Well, today I found this article. I think it's kind of cute, but anyway, let me know what you think. It's actually titled Spiritual, Not Religious, and that should appeal to a bunch of you, right? Spiritual, not religious, okay? Yeah, some of you are religious and spiritual, and some of you are spiritual, not religious, and some of you are none of the above, but I thought it was a good title. And this lady, she's also like me, a minister with Centers for Spiritual Living, but she calls it the creative force of intention. And I think that's kind of, oops, this is kind of cool. Well, this thing will not let me make it any bigger, so I'm going to have to read down as I go down. Anyway, Reverend Dr. Cynthia Ramirez Linden-Meyer is a big long name. Like me, is a CSL minister, and she's a minister for the Sacred Activism Community, which I don't know what it is. I'll have to look it up. And she says it's a virtual and in-person group, and what they pursue is spiritual living. And she also serves as the American Public University System chaplain. I've got to look that up as well. I'm trying to see if this thing, as usual, oh, it did. It let me make it bigger, which is kind of cool. And it's bigger, it's easier to actually scroll. Here's what she says. I think it's kind of a good story with a good message. A wonderful Facebook memory randomly appeared that reminds me of how thoughts have energy. She says, I was one of those mums who actively chronicled my life between 2007 and 2010. Thanks to the iPhone, no more lugging around a digital camera, I was able to share family moments with my husband, who was deployed in Iraq. I enthusiastically shared my children's sporting events and school activities on Facebook. He's not alone in this, right? People will still do this. Those posts captured the frenzy of my life at the time. Today, my life is less outwardly eventful, and I've let go of the habit of documenting every moment. Revisiting those memories sparked a profound realization about the creative process as taught by Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, or religious science. Ernest Holmes emphasized that thoughts are creative forces. By channeling our mental energy through visualization, affirmations, and focused intention, we align ourselves with universal spirit and manifest our desires. A memory from summer 2008 brought this principle into sharp focus. The photo showed me with my two children at Yankee Stadium. My 4-year-old declared that day, I'm going to play here one day. Later that evening at Rockefeller Center, my 8-year-old daughter said, "This is where Kevin meets his mum," referencing the movie Home Alone 2. She then expressed her dream of meeting me at the iconic tree on Christmas Day. At the time, my primary focus as a protective mom was keeping my kids safe in a chaotic big city. The deeper meaning of the declarations was far from my mind. Fast forward to December 2024, like 16 years later. My son, now in college, played a football ball game in Yankee Stadium. And on Christmas Day, my daughter and I stood together under the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. These moments felt surreal, a vivid reminder of how spirit honors intentions, even though spoken in the innocence of childhood. He goes on to say, inspired by this realization, I plan to create an electronic intention notebook for 2025, which I will call my Spirit Book. With pictures and affirmations, I will consciously document my desires and my dreams. Reflecting on the past clarifies where I want to go. And it's a beautiful reminder that the creative process is always at work. Spirit's timeline may not always align with ours, but it brings our intentions to fruition. And I thought that was a really wonderful example of how thoughts become things. And remember, belief is thought plus feeling. Belief, thought plus feeling. And that's what these two kids had. They, in the innocence of childhood, they didn't say, "Oh, this is what I really want, but I wonder what will happen. Will I really get this? I wonder if that was really going to happen." But as kids, we often didn't do that, you know? So I think this is a wonderful example of how thoughts plus feelings become things that are intentions. And you often hear on TV and elsewhere, right, that somebody says, "I dreamed about doing this when I was a kid." And I'm sure you've heard that more than once, right? So I kind of moved on with the affirmation. And if thoughts really are things, and part of the reading I didn't read was kind of about being a force for good in the world. That's what I used as my affirmation. I am a power for good in the world. I am a power for good in the world. And I did change things around a little bit with Cynthia's title. She called it the creative force of intention. I call it the creative power of intention. I'm probably influenced by the book I read, Power versus Force. But I think there is a difference, in my mind at least, between power and force. Force is where you are being coerced or you are coercing someone or something to do something, whereas power is allowing the power of the divine, the essence, the all, the ground of all being to flow through you into something else. That's why I changed it. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this diversion from the daily guides. I hope it's inspiring and I hope it gives you the message, that yes, we really can achieve things with our thoughts. And when we can do it with the innocence of childhood, then it's even more likely it's going to happen because we don't put ands, buts, and ifs in the way. Jesus said, unless you become like little children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. And if you remember what he said about heaven, the kingdom of heaven is within. The kingdom of God is within you. So in other words, we need to push aside our doubts and our fears and just believe, yes, this really is going to happen. So that is my message today. That is Reverend Cynthia's message for today. And that is a wonderful message, I think, to send out into the universe, into the all. I prefer all. Universe to me is limiting. The all means beyond the universe. Reverend Lisa, my colleague, will be back tomorrow at about 9:15. One of our practitioners, Danielle Mercadal, who is a science practitioner, will be here, I think, about 11:15 tomorrow with her midweek meditation. And I'll be back, hopefully, at about 5 o'clock tomorrow evening. So, yeah, I was a little early today, but I was inspired by this. I thought, this is really cool. So, I hope you're as enthusiastic as I am about this reading, because I intend to always remind myself of what is possible in this life. So please take care of yourselves. And that's another affirmation. I take care of myself. Until next time, namaste.